Hey there, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Fantasy for the Ages, the show where a father and son get together and talk about fantasy, science fiction, and other nerdy things that we enjoy. Today, it's just Jim here, bringing a book blast episode to you. Some comments, spoiler light, on something I've read recently. If you enjoy this episode, be sure to like it down below. We hope you subscribe to our channel. We welcome comments. Just put them down there in the comment box. And look in the show notes for all the other ways you can get in touch with Zach and I, including Discord, social media, and even becoming one of our Patreon supporters. Thanks. So, what did I read? Well, I'm here to talk about United States of Apocalypse, a trilogy collaboration by authors Mark Tufo and Armand Rosamilia. I just recently finished reading this, and I'm already a massive Mark Tufo fan. I have featured him and his content numerous times on my episode. The Zombie Fallout series and everything related to that, his Indian Hill series, a number of works that are in different parallel worlds, we might say. Something you learn very quickly about Tufo and what he writes is that he takes considerable pleasure in intentionally reusing some of the same core characters from series to series. He just loves these characters. They aren't actually the same people, and yet they are in these books. I mean, they have the same names and they have the same personality, but they aren't truly the same people. Their ages may differ, the relationships they have to each other may shift a little bit, but at their core, they're still the characters you come to know and love. For example, the primary protagonist is always Mike Talbot. He's a bit irreverent, he always addresses his stress with humor and sarcasm, and he's often opening his mouth and saying things he never should. These are core character traits that are always there. His primary love interest, it's always Tracy. But sometimes he's married to her, sometimes he's just meeting her. It differs from series to series, but it's always the two of them together in some way. Oh, and as the crap hits the spinning air moving blades, he always comes into contact with BT, a behemoth of a man with a heart of gold who will become Mike's right hand and best friend. Now, I've come to love these characters and the way they interact with each other, their playful banter, the way they're always there for each other. So to find them again in the United States of Apocalypse trilogy was delightful. At the same time, Armand Rosamilia brings some of his established characters from his Dying Days Zombie Apocalypse series, drops them into the same world here with Tufo's characters, and we have something that's brilliant. Now, Rosamilia's main character is Darlene Bobbich, and in Dying Days, she apparently becomes quite the skilled zombie killer. I have not read that series yet, but because I love the stuff so much in this one, I've put the whole Dying Days series on my TBR. I will get there soon. But Darlene and a few of her supporting characters are also imported into this new world. So they are the characters that Rosamilia's fans know, but a little different in context here now. The setting of this trilogy is an all-out attack on the United States. It's an apocalypse! As one of the various haters amongst the nations of the world manages to pull off a devastating nuclear attack right here on American soil. It's left the country reeling, and while the government and armed forces race to respond to this tragedy, that terrorist nation, along with other nations who are always, well, definitely not fans of the US, they take full advantage of the chaos. And for the first time in over 200 years, foreign invaders are right here on American soil. What is the military doing about that? And where are our allies? What's up with that? Well, the book has some realistic and somewhat terrifying answers to all of those questions, making this an engaging and gripping story. All that, however, is actually just the backdrop for telling the stories of Mike Talbot and Darlene Bobbich. Mike starting out in Manhattan, Darlene all the way out the other direction in Chico, California. It details the choices they make as they face challenges because of what's happening in America at this time. It talks about the people they fall in with, the desperate decisions that they're forced into as the chaos of the times brings out the best and the worst of people. And we're talking both out of the invaders and out of just good old Americans. Yet the parallel plots have a couple of extra things to note. In this story, Mike and Darlene are actually cousins. That's the way the authors wrote this now. They haven't seen each other since they were kids, but that wasn't ridiculously long ago since they're both in their early 20s here. The other thing of note is that though they do start out on separate coasts, events of the story will eventually bring them together, and that's when things really get wild. Overall, I enjoyed this trilogy. I admit to some minor disappointment with the ending of it. The actual ending felt a little rushed, a bit forced. It was kind of like the two authors had decided to collaborate on a trilogy, and then they had this great story, but since they only agreed to write a trilogy, now they had to find a way to make it end, and the ending doesn't seem to honor the quality of the rest of the trilogy. It's not horrible. I'm glad I read these. I definitely would recommend them to others. It's just the ending doesn't seem quite worthy of how good the trilogy as a whole is. But if you do like apocalyptic tales, lots of action, high stakes, and humor used well to kind of mellow it out and not make it too stressful, then I definitely would recommend these books to you. And if you're a Tufo fan or a Rosamilia fan, no zombies here. Really, it's just the apocalypse. Well, there you go. If you read these and you enjoy them, let me know. If you read these and you don't, you can let me know that too. Always glad to hear from people who watch our videos. Thanks for joining me today. We'll talk to you next time.